Okay, this is David Turner, and I'm going to do a walkthrough of this lesson here or exercise called Bootstrap. And this is part of my web page programming class in fall of 2015. So let's take a look at this. This is an optional video. You don't have to sit through this video if you can get through the exercise without it. It's not a problem. But for those who want to see me do it, and I'll show you one way to do this exercise. There's many ways of getting through this. So I'll show one way. And this exercise is about learning Bootstrap, which is like a CSS library. So it gives front-end web designers a tool to put together some very nice looking and functional web pages. It's good for building web applications where you have buttons and text entry boxes and so on. And it's also good for just putting together static websites as well. It's widely used. It's a very popular framework or library. I guess you would call it a library or a framework. And so it's widely used in the industry. So it's something that's pretty standard at this point. There are alternatives to Bootstrap, which are good. And you could look at those as well. Because Bootstrap, one of the reasons I don't like Bootstrap is it's a bit heavy. You get a lot of stuff with it that you're not going to necessarily need. So you'll be serving a lot of files and data to the client that are not needed. So if bandwidth is an issue, then that's a problem. So if you have a site or an application where you expect a lot of hits and your revenues are very low, on a per hit basis, then bandwidth is going to be expensive. But if you're building an application or a site that you don't expect a lot of traffic at, then something like Bootstrap makes more sense because you're not going to be worried that much about bandwidth anyway. So why not use all the bells and whistles and save yourself a lot of time by not putting together all that functionality from scratch that you get with one of these libraries. So anyway, this is Bootstrap. I'm going to hop over there. And what I want you to do in this exercise is to add, Bootstrap to one or more of your pages in your site. So here's my Cloud9 workspace. And I'm going to start by creating a folder to contain all of the files from this exercise. I'll call it Bootstrap, so it's easy to remember. And of course, most of these folders have an index.html file, so I'm going to create that. Index.html. And I'll just open that up and I'll fill that in with something. Okay. All right, here's Bootstrap. And, they use their own library for the site, I assume. So it looks like their library. You can see it. There's like footer area down there, nice rounded button here, and the images are laid out nicely and so on. And these things are usually adaptive. So you see now this horizontal menu is now a vertical menu. So this is one of the main reasons that I use Bootstrap or things like this, is to get this nice adaptability. So when you're on phones, when someone on a phone accesses your site, they see a version of the site that's easy for them to interact with. So let's take a look here. So there's a bunch of sections here getting started. Now I'm not going to go over all of the little details, but this is a very valuable tool for web developers. So if you're expecting to find work in the web development field, I recommend that you dig into the details of the things that I'm going to basically skip over. I'm just going to scratch the surface here and help get you started. But you'll probably want to spend a lot more time with this. And so here's a getting started section, and there's a number of ways to interact and use Bootstrap. You can download the pre-built source code. You can check out the source code from GitHub. You can build, a distribution, or you download the distribution already built. You can also get a customized build here. If you go to this link, you can specify the components that you're going to need and components that you're not using, and then set these parameters different colors. So the base library has these particular colors set, but you can modify these. And when you're done with all these settings, probably on the bottom there's some kind of a build button there. Download, here it is, compile and download. So you can do that to the site here. So you can change all of these settings, compile, and then download a custom version of that library for you. But you don't have to do it through the site. You can also get the source for Bootstrap from GitHub and go into one or several files. There's at least one file in there that contains these variables. And you can find these variables like add carousel dash caption dash color. It's set to white. You can go in there and change this variable and then run the build script on your local machine. You don't have to do it through here. So the point, getting back to the point I was making, is that there's many ways of obtaining Bootstrap, a version of it that you're going to use. And I'm going to show you what I think is the simplest way to get started, okay? And I'm not going to download it. I'm not going to use the source code. And I'm not going to build it. I'm going to use the Bootstrap CDN, that's Content Delivery Network. So these are versions of Bootstrap that are pre-built, and they're available for web developers to use free of charge. So I don't know how that's funded, but that's common for these popular libraries like jQuery and whatnot, for these popular libraries to be available through a content delivery network. So we'll be using that. So scrolling down through here, here's where you obtain it using npm. Just to go back to what I was talking about before, Bootstrap is written in less, which is we looked at that already. There's also a version in Sass, so you can build it from either less or Sass. And we're not going to get into that. It does require jQuery, although it's optional. There's a way to use Bootstrap without jQuery, and there's some explanation about that here. And this is the layout of the precompiled Bootstrap. This is how the folders and files are laid out. And this is how the source code is laid out. These are some explanations on how to compile Bootstrap. You use this utility called grunt that has to be installed and configured on your system. Here's a basic template, and this would be like your index.html file that's using, or any HTML file that's using Bootstrap. You can see here's a link to the library, which shows Bootstrap being loaded from the same server that the HTML was retrieved from. Now, we're not going to use this basic template. But this is a good starting point. You might want to experiment with that. It's very good. Instead, what I want to do is use one of these examples. So there are lots of examples to look at. Like they show you this example. It's very nice. And different kinds of buttons and badges and lots to do there. Lots to look at. And you see you've got this menu up here. And it's adaptable once again to small devices. So this is look at all these color-themed message boxes and progress bars. Lots of fantastic stuff. Carousel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these. Which one was it? I was going to grab one of these. I think it was this one. sticky footer with Nav Bar. Here it is. This is the Nav Bar, and here's the sticky footer. Here's the footer down there. So when we resize this, the footer stays on the bottom. Also, when we bring this in, we get the vertical menu here. And so I'm just going to show you how to set this up. Okay, so we're going to use this as a starting point. So I'll show you how I do it. I'm just going to view the page source here. I'm going to grab everything. And that's the starting point, my index.html file. And let me, what am I going to do? Can't remember how to do that. I want that to be on the full screen. How do I do that? Like this? That's not what I wanted to do. Anyway, this is good enough. I close it like that? Maybe, yeah. There we go. So, you know, they're using this doc type tag. I think this is pretty optional. And this is a blank line. They're going to get rid of that blank line. Sometimes that's a problem with XML. But they're using the doc type, I don't know if you call it a tag, but it's part of an XML declaration. And I think that's pretty optional, but I'll leave it alone. This is the HTML tag and so on. And now let's scan through here and look for files that we don't have. For instance, this favicon I don't have that. So I think what I'll do is just take this one out. But this is good if you can get a favicon in your site and put it there. And if you do get a favicon, you probably won't have it. Well, maybe it'll be up a level, something like that, whatever. I'm going to comment that one out. So here's the title, Sticky Footer Navbar Template for Bootstrap. I'll leave that alone. I'll just say, my Sticky Footer Navbar. We'll do it like that. We'll personalize it. Here's the Bootstrap core CSS. And you can see it's referencing something that's local on the server. So we're going to use the CDN for this. So I'm going to get back to here and find the CDN code for that. Here it is, latest compiled and minified CSS. There it is right there. I'm going to copy that. And I'm just going to put it over top. There it is. So now you see the client browser is going to go to this host and grab the minified Bootstrap CSS file. There it is right there. Let's keep looking down. So here's a CSS file that was created just for this example, right? So we want to get that. Sticky footer navbar.-css. I'm going to go back to the example here. And I'm going to paste that right in there. See, that's where the CSS is located. And I'll show you a nice way to get it. I'll just copy that link. Go back to the example. And then inside Cloud 9, let's get a terminal window open here. And I'm going to CD into, so I'm right in my workspace, see that? So I'm going to CD into the Bootstrap folder. See, I'm in this workspace right there. And is there an HTML5? I don't think the HTML5 is the workspace. So there's no HTML5, but there's a Bootstrap. See that? So we have index.html, but let's use this tool called wget. And I'm just going to paste that, that URL in there. And take a look at that. See, we just retrieved it. So we don't have to, and you can see it also shows here. So this is the CSS that's provided with the example. That's sort of particular to that example. It's not part of the library, it's just part of their example that uses the library. So we'll just leave that in there. And let's see, so we got that one. I'm going to keep going down. And there's this, this warning thing. This is just for debugging. Don't actually copy these two lines. Let's go ahead and take that out. That's not needed. I'm not even going to bother with that. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's, I don't know why they left that in there, but that's for debug. I'm going to leave that one out. That might be important, actually. You can go back and investigate that if you want. Not important, but it might be worth spending a little time on. But I'm going to skip over that. This one I'll leave in there. This is, they call it a shim, HTML5 shim, that provides support for Internet Explorer version 8. Support for HTML5 elements and media queries. So this will be important in this example. If you want the code to work on IE8, then you're going to want to leave that in there. So coming down to here, what are we going to do? We're going to look for the next link. So here it is right there. So this is already using the a CDN to get jQuery from. So you know it's a CDN because you've got the full host name right there on the internet. So that's a good link. We can just leave that alone. And then the next one is this is the Bootstrap JavaScript. See, it ends with JS. So this is, there's a little JavaScript that goes with Bootstrap. It's optional. You can use Bootstrap without it, but you won't get access to all of its features. And if you wanted to, really clean up your site and you're not using any JavaScript features, then you think about how to eliminate that. Well, let's go ahead and get that. And I'm going to use the CDN for that. So let's go back to, here's the latest compiled and minified JavaScript. I'm going to grab that from the CDN. And I'm going to paste that in over top of this one. There it is. Finally, we have this Internet Explorer 10 viewport hack. And do we want that? Maybe. I'll show you how to get it. So look, it goes up 2 levels and then down into an assets folder, and it grabs this file. All right, let's go ahead and copy that. So we've got to go up 2 levels from our current folder and then down into an assets folder. Let's see how that's done. So I'm going to rerun this wget command and show you how to do that. So this is our parent. So if we go up, I think it's in here. I believe it's up at this level. If I'm wrong, I'll just try it again. Let's see if that works. That worked. So we got it. See what that looks like. It's just a little called a viewport hack. This would be called a I forgot the word for that. I'll think of it later. So that's only loaded if no, that's always loaded actually. So it's not only loaded for IE10, it's loaded for everything. So we're loading that. So if we don't want to support Internet Explorer 10, then we can leave that out. Anyway, we've got everything. So we've got all the assets. There's no images that are referenced, except for the images that are in the part of the library, but those would be retrievable through the CDN. Let's go ahead and save this and find it. Let me see. I got to figure out how to how to find out the URL of this running system. So I think maybe we're not running. Maybe we shut that down. I'll hit run again. Looks like it's starting it up again. There's the link right there. So I'm going to copy that, and let's go to that. There it is. There it is. The whole thing is working just right. See that? That's part of my site now. And so I go up a level. Here's my. I already have a link to it. Watch. See, that's so that, if you do just this for this assignment, that's good enough. Once again, it's up to you what you want to get out of the class. There's lots of side trips to take and areas to put your focus on, and Bootstrap is certainly worth spending a lot of time with. So it's up to you. But what I showed you is sufficient to complete the assignment with full credit. So when you're done this, send me this link that's running on your site, and you can use the example that I showed you, or else you could try using one of the other examples. Whatever you want to do. So you might want to experiment. If you have an idea for a site that looks like it uses, this layout and these techniques, then maybe you want to try using, the way I showed you how to analyze the index.html file and obtain all the files that you need and get it set up. You can go ahead and do that. Anyway, that's it for this assignment. Good luck, and I'll see what you come up with when you send me your emails.